Hey there, 302. I'm Jackie Ferris. A lot of us are working from home during the COVID-19 pandemic. And because we're at home, maybe we're not getting as much done as we would like. We're going to be speaking to our home organizational expert to get some tips and tricks. And we'll also go into the kitchen and talk about batch cooking. Stay tuned. A very special edition of the 302 is next. Hey, 302, if you're like me, if you're like all of us, really, we're working from home. And at times it can be a little problematic because our homes are set up to be our homes and not our offices. So we wanted to talk to an expert to try to, make sure that we get stuff done and we're organized about it. So our resident organizational specialist, Sue Frost, is joining us via Skype to talk a little bit about it. Sue, thank you so much for joining us.
I'm happy to be with you today. So a lot of us are working from home these days, considering the circumstances that we're in. So we have to make adjustments. In a perfect world, we'd have a desk waiting for us with a couple of file drawers, a hardback chair, a light source, and a door that we can close. But that's not always the case, especially that if we're not planning for it. So we have to create a space. And creating a space takes a little bit of a plan. And if we are sharing space with other people, it takes some negotiating. So what we want to do is, look for a place that we can call our own, whether it's a little part of the kitchen table, dining table, or a folding table that we're pulling up from the basement. We're going to decide what we need to do our job and make sure those things are in place so that we don't start working and then start wandering around the house. Do we need our laptop or our tablet? Do we need our phone, a light source, the most comfortable chair that we can find, and a minimal amount of supplies right there so that we have a space to start doing our work? And the next thing we need to do is set up some boundaries. And they are, what are our work hours? And, no interruptions. We want to limit interruptions so that we can kind of dig in and start to get our work done.
Now, I know a lot of us, say, for instance, I'm working from my kitchen. So, it's kind of like I have carved out this little area, but we're dealing with a lot of technologies and everything, and a lot of things that are different. So, it takes a little bit of, scheduling our time and figuring out how much extra time we need in order to accomplish our goals from the kitchen table or the home office. So, how would you recommend we do that?
Well, think of your time, whereas if you were going into the office before, it involved just a little bit of a commute, but now you don't have that. Think of setting up, and you need the space to eat breakfast, eat dinner, that little adjustment period as your commute time. You may have a little office basket that you can neatly offload your daytime equipment into at the end of the day, that you put your laptop in or just the accessories that you need to do your job back into that basket at 6 o'clock, and then you reclaim your space for the dining table, if that in fact is your schedule.
Sure, sure. How do you keep focused? Because I know a lot of people, there are dogs, there are kids. Once you're able to get everybody to respect the boundaries of work because you have to get your job done, how is it that you can keep focused? Because a lot of people are super stressed out by being at home alone, but just the situation itself, the fear of COVID-19 can be really distracting. How can you focus and get things done?
Well, I've become an over communicator just because I've worked with so many people and we all have different communication styles. And because you've been in my home and we're minimalists, so when I'm going to go on a call, I we talk to each other saying, I'm going on a call now, I might close the door, but and I'll let you know when I'm finished, and over communicating that whenever possible, and not forgetting to say, okay, I'm off the phone now, so it's not a couple of hours later that people are trying to tiptoe around. I mean, we have to be forgiving with each other, because these are unique times that we were not prepared for. We're all adjusting. But if you can say, mom's on the phone, you know, can we just be as quiet as we can? We use our library voices, for the next half an hour. And then at 10:30, we're going to have coffee break time. Mom's having a coffee break. Everybody else will have a glass of milk and an apple and so forth. Schedule breaks too, so that it's unrealistic, even for two adults, never mind for children, to wait in 4-hour gaps in silence for your attention.
So what about, I guess, blocking out a certain amount of time for a specific task? And should we multitask, or should we do one thing at a time under a certain time period?
Sure, and this is another thing that I would preach under normal circumstances, and now, of course, we're not under normal circumstances. Multitasking, of course, that's a catchphrase. All of us have many tasks. The trick is that we don't do them all at the same time. And if we say we do, we don't do them efficiently or well. That's asking for minor errors, and a slowdown of efficiency. So the trick is that, especially now that we may have more control over what we do when, scheduling things in blocks of time. So let's pretend that part of your responsibilities is virtual interviews. That I would suggest conducting those, um, on your Monday morning. And then another responsibility might be reviewing and creating contracts. Well, maybe you'll do that on Monday afternoon. And if you don't finish, at least making a stopping point before you switch to another task. Now, of course, this is a perfect situation. Occasionally, in case of emergency, we have to switch gears, but we're more efficient when we are working on something, achieve critical thought, and we go with that flow. But whenever we're interrupted and we try to switch back and forth and back and forth, by the time we take those several minutes to achieve critical thought, and then we're interrupted and interrupted again and interrupted again, those are the times that we not only lose efficiency, but we feel like we've gone through a day or more and we didn't really achieve much at all. So, schedule not only our hours of work, but how we're going to use those blocks of time. And we can also talk about how we respond to emails and phone calls, if you'd like to do that.
Sure. Well, what we're going to do is we're going to take a quick break, and then we're going to come back. We're talking to our organizing expert, Sue Frost. We'll be right back.
Hi, I am Charmaine Wright. I'm the medical director at Christiana Care's Center for Special Healthcare Needs, and I love the 302.
Welcome back. We're talking about ways to organize your home so that you can work at home during the COVID-19 crisis and everything. Organization expert Sue Frost is with us. Now, Sue, you were talking about before the break about how to clear emails. What's the best way to do that?
Well, now that we are sort of creating a new routine for ourselves, if work, your business allows, I always recommend checking email or responding to email twice, no more than 3 times a day, so that you have good blocks of time to do your work. And again, we're starting fresh, so it's a good time to purge anything that you've completed. You don't need to hold on to anymore. Purge that, get off of subscription lists, and then set up folders that represent different tasks or projects that you're involved with. Those electronic folders could also mirror any paper folders that you are still necessary to your work, if you have those, if you're not a completely electronic system. And then any new incoming email can represent things that you have to respond to. What you don't want to do now that you're home, you're getting used to a new system, is miss anything that's incoming that's important. And then as it's processed, if you have to hold on to it, it can go into the appropriate folder.
Now I know that I'm a big list person, so I make a list of everything I have to do, and I check it off, and I try to organize it. But one of the things on our list of things to talk about is the kitchen. A lot of us are home, but we're all home, and we're having to make meals, not just for us. Maybe we've got kids home from college or whatever the case may be. So, how do we organize our kitchen in order to make sure that we're able to make these meals and not have to go out as much?
Well, so important these days. Experts as far as organizing and nutrition have always said that when we have an organized kitchen, we eat more healthfully, we spend more time with family, we save money. Now it's more important than ever because we're trying to reduce our trips to the supermarket. And many of us have been displaced. We were sheltering in place and businesses closed their doors. So people are trying to stretch a dollar. So organizing your kitchen is so important, turning to our pantries and organizing items by, your canned goods, your sweets, your savories, your grains, your pastas, your produce in the refrigerator. I like to use a supermarket style, is what I call it. So if you go grocery shopping when you need it, keep good lists of what you need. And then, as the supermarket does, the new things go to the back of the prospective area. And then the items that you had in place are pushed to the front. So you're not losing, you're using items before they go bad.
Now, I know a lot of folks have things like pasta, endless pasta and beans and garbanzo beans, all this stuff in their refrigerator and their pantry. So it's almost like we're challenged in a sense to, if you want us to organize, to look at what we've got and what we've had for a while, the staples that we've stocked up on, and create, meals with that. How do we come up with a plan and then set up a time to actually do all this cooking?
So, what's come back to me is all of the things that my mother and grandmother, my grandmother who, cooked through the Depression, those gems of, make some for now and put some away for later. And looking to my pantry much more than I used to. If I felt like I wanted something, I'd pick it up on the way home. But now I'm looking for usefulness of what's already there. Those pastas and grains and beans that you're talking about are great. And I'm looking online. All you have to do is look for recipes for beans, and there's a million options. So put those things on your list when you do go to the grocery store. Of broths, if you're good. I save bones now from my chicken to make chicken soup. My husband asked for meatloaf last week. So what I did was not only make meatloaf, but I used that mixture and I put it into cupcake pans so that we had many little meatloaves for us. And I have a family member with disabilities, so I was able to pack some up and give it to them, and became much more creative. There are things I didn't have. So instead of going out to the market, instead of ketchup, I used tomato sauce. Instead of Worcestershire, I used hot sauce. Came out great. So really being creative, I encourage people to be creative with what they have instead of the mentality of convenience, which is, what our culture was famous for. And really turning to that. Doesn't work as well with baking, but it does with cooking. And looking to those staples. There's so many recipes online that are great for easy recipe, easy 5-ingredient meals, using our crock pots and making food for leftovers so we can package half of it up, put it in the freezer. My mother always said, plan for the worst, hope for the best. Putting a little bit away in the freezer allows for, God forbid any of us get sick, we have something there if we don't feel up to cooking at some point. that we'll have resources available to us if we have to shelter in place while we're ill.
Those all very good tips. Of course, we are talking about how to be organized in your home and in your kitchen during the COVID-19 pandemic. We're talking to organizational expert Sue Frost, and we'll be right back.
Hi, I'm Jerry with the Candlelight Theater, and I found the spotlight on the 302.
Welcome back. We're talking with organizational expert Sue Frost about how to keep your home and your kitchen organized. Now, we also need to keep track of our medications. Is that right, Sue?
Well, I think it's a good idea normally, but in a time like this, we're reducing our trips out, and it's important. I've sent you a list, and if you're able to show that to your viewers, but basically it keeps track of anyone in the house who's taking medications, supplements, or has allergies, so that they can have that handy should they need to call a doctor or go to the hospital, so that medical professionals can be aware of that. It talks about what they take, what the dosage is, and if they have any allergies to any other kinds of medications. It also allows you to keep track of those supplies so that when you do go out, you don't have to go out today and then find out by the end of the week that you need to go out for somebody else in the family.
Sure. So it's good to stay on top of that kind of thing. So I wanted to ask you, I mean, you're the expert. A lot of these folks out there, they've got, extended family, kids home from college, a lot of people, a lot of binge watching. We're out of our routines and there's just a lot of mess. And some people, mess equals stress. So how do we keep ourselves on track whenever we're dealing with something like a pandemic like this?
Well, first of all, try to maintain a normal schedule. That is getting up the same time every day, going to sleep the same time every day. We are still working at home. Normalcy equals a degree of comfort, and we control what we can. So while kids are still learning, while parents are still working, maybe set up a time that we're not only having a pickup time of day that we clean up after ourselves, but emphasize my motto, the clean up as you go, that everything has a start to finish process. As the adults work and kids do their homework, as we finish, we put it away. We put our work away in that work basket to use the dining room table. The kids know where that the laundry goes in the laundry basket and the toys go in the toy box. And you have that additional 10-minute pickup every day at a certain time, maybe with a little bit of encouragement, with a snack after. And remember to really cut back on news a couple of times a day. Knowledge is power, and balance that with some good input, something that's encouraging, but keep that balance.
I find that the best thing in our household, anyway, is because we're working and we're watching the news. And there is, of course, a lot of Netflix watching, but spending some time just kind of face to face, checking in with each other. How are you doing? How are you feeling? That kind of thing. And just going over what our priorities are on a daily basis and what we need to do as a family. I think that can be really helpful. Before we go, I wanted to talk to you a little bit about you've got something special going on with your company. If you want to tell us, first of all, for those who maybe haven't tuned in before, whenever we've had you on, tell us about your company and tell us what you're doing right now to benefit the community.
So my company is Organize My Life, Redesign My World. And obviously now I'm virtually organizing my clients. And what we're doing now is a portion of our proceeds are being donated to the Ministry of Caring. Most people that live in Wilmington know that they've been around for 40 years, and they're right now continuing to serve the poor, the hungry, and the homeless of our community under even these trying circumstances. So my website is organizemylife.net, and theirs is the ministryofcaring.org. You can make donations directly to them, or if you need help organizing, know that a portion of my proceeds will be going to support them and their mission, their important mission here in the community.
Definitely. I know that we had them on the show a couple of weeks ago, and they were saying that since the COVID-19 pandemic started, they've really seen a lot of people, their numbers have grown significantly.
There's a great need, and of course, now more people are displaced. So we're all looking for our small way to help. I don't have many talents, but I can organize. So that's my only way so far that I've come up with contributing, and we can get through this together. That's our organizer motto. Together we're better.
That's right. And that motto transcends to the situation that we're in right now. I want to thank you so much for coming on and talking with us and everything. I know you talked about your company a little bit, but give us all of your addresses, your web address, your Facebook, all of that. Give us where we can contact you if we need to have you come in and help us sort ourselves out.
OrganizeMyLife.net. It's sfrost at organizemylife.net, and I'm on Facebook under the same name, and I'm happy to help. Together we'll get through this.
All right. Thank you so much, Sue. It's always a pleasure to have you on the 302.
Take care of yourself.
All right. We'll be right back. That'll do it for this episode of the 302. We leave you now with the very latest update from the state of Delaware. Until next time, I'm Jackie Ferris. Stay healthy in the 302.
The number of cases are divided among our geographic areas, 919 positive cases in Newcastle County, 288 cases in Kent County, and 551 positive cases in Sussex County. We have actually had 3 cases with unknown geographic origin. So here's the breakdown by age. We pay really close attention to this, and one of the observations that we'll make later is that the median age of those who have tested positive has been going down. That's a really good thing, and because the real risk for hospitalization and the need for critical care services in our hospitals is for our senior citizens and those with compromised health conditions. The largest group, of course, remains to be that group from age 18 to 49, and still very small numbers for children and teenagers.